CeDee Lamb staying away from OTAs in Dallas. He wants his contract. He's due to make $17 million and change in his fifth-year option. Here's Dak Prescott from earlier this week on CeDee Lamb not being present for the voluntary off-season practices in which all teams are now engaged.
Yes, I mean that's my guy. Not many more people out there, more swaggier, cooler, better player than that guy. So obviously you're gonna miss him, miss having him around. But I've been in this situation. It's business. Business is business. He's got my support and pretty much everybody in this locker room. I mean, I know locker room support, and so that's it's part of it. Hopefully he'll get all his and everything he deserves and is worth. In a sense, it's okay that he's not here. That's a big-time player, and he's training. We know what he's doing. We know that he's fine. I've thrown with him a couple of times. I think last time he asked me, I said no, and he's ready to go. He looks like CeDee Lamb. So the fact these young guys can get in here, they can hear everything, they can communicate, they can understand what I want on routes will be big, and we're going to need some of those guys.
Hey, Charean, business is business, and the reality of the business for the Dallas Cowboys is that because they've yet to extend Dak Prescott's contract and knock his cap number for this year down from $55.4 million, they don't have the flexibility to take care of CeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons. Now, they could do an extension with CeDee Lamb that would entail a cap number not much greater than what he currently has, because it's all dollars and cap dollars, real dollars and cap dollars of $17.9 million this year. They could do something there. And there's no bonus carryover. This is it. The fifth-year option is a standalone thing like the franchise tag is. The other problem is Micah Parsons, because his cap number is very low. Third year of his four-year slotted first-round contract, low cap dollars, they'll go up. But Dak's contract is the log jam for this other business they want to do. And one of the reasons he doesn't have a new contract is he recognizes it's the logjam, or his agents do, and they're trying to leverage an even better deal for him because of the relief it gives the Cowboys and the flexibility it gives them to do some of these other deals.
Yeah, CeDee Lamb's absence is not a big deal to Dak Prescott. They're not learning. It would have been a bigger deal probably last year when Mike McCarthy was taking over the play calling, changed part of the playbook, all of those sorts of things. It's not a big deal. He's not there. He's throwing with Dak Prescott some. It is a big deal to Jerry Jones. This is a big deal to the Cowboys, because how long is CeDee Lamb going to stay away? The only way to get Jerry's attention is to hold out. And it's worked, Mike. You go back to Emmitt Smith, 1993, missed those first two games, defending Super Bowl champions. Guess what the Cowboys do when they start 0-2? They sign him to a 4-year, $13.6 million deal, which was big money at that time. He wins the MVP award. He wins the Super Bowl MVP. Derek Lassick goes back to the bench and sits down. Ezekiel Elliott, 2019, signed a 6-year extension worth $90 million 4 days before the season opened. He had sat out all that time. Last year, it was Zach Martin, right guard. I want to be paid more money, $50,000 a day in fine. I don't care. Sat out 3 weeks of training camp before he reports. Paid the fines. They can't rescind those fines. Paid the fines. Got guarantees for $36 million over 2 years. That was an $8 million raise. The way to get Jerry's attention is to hold out. I do have a question about how long CeDee Lamb is going to stay away from this team. And can you imagine the Cowboys have no real starting running back? They have a running back by committee. And now you're going to take CeDee Lamb off of this offense? If he's not going to be there, it's not going to be very good. So I do have a question about how long he's going to stay away. How long is he going to put the pressure on? There's no pressure now, but how long is he going to put that pressure on Jerry Jones to get him signed? And guess what happens, Mike, when those guys hold out? They all got better deals than they would have otherwise.
That's the thing that I've been saying all offseason. And it probably won't get us invited back to the table at the restaurant in Indianapolis where we got to sit there and continue to get our glasses refilled with Pinot Noir while Jerry regaled us on all sorts of topics, and Steven was talking so much, they literally picked up his plate of chicken parm and took it and heated it up twice. He didn't even get to eat it. We're just talking and talking and talking. That's probably not going to happen again, because I've been saying all off season, when it comes to their young players, they are cheap, short-sighted, and not as smart as they think they are, because they constantly misplay it. And with some of these guys, what they do is they wait way too long. It never gets cheaper if you wait. They got themselves into a mess with Dak by waiting, into a mess with Zeke by waiting. They're in a mess now with CeDee Lamb by waiting. And then they'll flip it around and do things that make you say, what? Like the contract they gave to Michael Gallup coming off of a torn ACL, and they cut the cord on him this year. They gave him way too much. They did the franchise tag with, why am I blank? Tony Pollard. There it is. It took a second. Yeah. Again, we're getting older. It takes a little while. At least it fires. Sometimes it doesn't fire at all. Tony Pollard, they never should have franchise tagged him. Charean, they never should have paid him $10 million plus coming off of a broken ankle. Nobody was going to come in and swoop down and take him away from the Cowboys last year. They could have signed him to a reasonable deal. So they just make some, they're doing a good job of drafting and developing young talent, but they don't know what to do when it comes to figuring out a good strategy for getting them properly paid, paying the right guys, not paying the wrong guys, and having those guys become a productive nucleus of the team well into the future.
Well, you compare to what the Lions have done this offseason with what the Cowboys have done this offseason. The Lions have tied up their key players for years with extensions, and the Cowboys haven't done that. I do have a question, Mike, about this receiver market, though. Does at some point, does the receiver market become the running back market? And by that, I mean, receivers now grow on trees. Used to, Randy Moss was a big deal to come in and step in and do what he did his rookie year. Rookies didn't do that as receivers. Oh, it takes a while for receivers. Well, now the college game is such a passing game. These guys come and they step right in. The Vikings did it with Diggs. The Bills did it with Diggs. The Chiefs did it with Tyreek Hill. The Texans did it with DeAndre Hopkins. The Cowboys did it with Amari Cooper. They moved on from these big money receivers and said, we can go out and we can draft a guy and he's going to be as good or better than the receiver we are paying a ton of money to. So at some point, did teams stop paying receivers? Does the receiver market, Tyreek Hill right now at $30 million is the highest paid. Is that the highest we're going to see a receiver paid? Or or Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and perhaps CeDee Lamb paid more than that, and that's the ceiling? Is it only a handful of guys who are paid that big money?
Remember, Tyreek Hill's $30 million is fake and fugazi. It's got a $45 million compensation package last year that drives it up, and since then, both Amon-Ra St. Brown and A.J. Brown have surpassed him. A.J. Brown's got a more plausible $32 million in new money average. But you're making a great point that came up Wednesday night. I do a spot on KJR in Seattle with Dick Fain and Softy Mahler. And I think that there are parallels to the running back dynamic. The difference is, plain and simple, the gap between the best running backs and the rest is smaller than the gap between the best receivers and the rest. And, analytics as part of constructing a baseball team was a thing a decade ago with Moneyball and all that. That's been part of football forever. The analytics, it's only crossed over into the micromanagement of game scenarios the past 7 to 10 years. But it's always been one of the key principles of roster management. What am I getting out of this guy dollar for dollar? And what would I get dollar for dollar out of his replacement? And I think with receivers, the exception is there's a group of guys that transcend the you can get a receiver anywhere mindset. And who are those guys and how much do they get paid? And that's the problem the Vikings have right now with Justin Jefferson. Yeah. At what point are we dollar for dollar out of whack in what we're giving him versus, we got Jordan Addison on a rookie contract. And then we can go draft somebody else who can come in and be the next Jordan Addison. Then we can get somebody else, and then we can get somebody else. Brandon Powell has been a pleasant surprise for the Vikings. That's the challenge. So, the Cowboys could just say to CeeDee Lamb, we're not giving you a contract this year, and we'll make a decision after this season what we're going to do. That's what they did with Amari Cooper when they gave him his long-term deal, and then traded him 2 years into it when in hindsight, they were kind of behind where the market was going to go, and maybe they should have kept him at $20 million a year. But I think you're onto something. I just think that the truly best of the best receivers have more impact than the truly best of the best running backs in comparison to whoever you can find to take their place.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have probably put CeDee Lamb in that category until last season, and he did make All-Pro for the first time. He led the league with 135 catches. I think he proved his worth, and part of that was, Mike, the Cowboys didn't have an Amari Cooper opposite him. Brandon Cooks is their number 2, and Jalen Tolbert now is going to be charged with becoming that number 3, but he is their guy. To me, he's their weapon. He's the guy that Dak Prescott's going to look to on every single play, try to get the ball to CeDee Lamb, because he is their one weapon on that offense. So if he's your one weapon on your offense, you better have him when you start the season. And that means you better pay him before the season starts. So he's another guy. I just think that he has Jerry backed in the corner. Like, now you've got to pay him because you've got to have him out there for this offense. He's that important to your offense.
In hindsight, I'm surprised when you consider that the general manager is also the guy who writes the checks. I'm surprised he allowed the team to feed the ball to CeeDee Lamb last year as much as he did, because there is a price to be paid now that he was showcased. It justifies his demands. Yeah. In whatever he's trying to get at the bargaining table. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.